Good morning, everybody. The time is 9:04 a.m. It's Monday, August 10th, 2020. I'm calling the Bee County Commissioners Court regular term meeting to order. We are located at the Bee County Courthouse, Commissioners Courtroom, number 110, located at 105 West Corpus Christi Street, Beeville, Texas, 78102. If everybody will please stand and join Reverend Maggie Mossler from First Christian Church on a prayer.
God in heaven, thank you for our community, and especially thank you for the ones in harm's way. We pray for your protection and guidance. We know that we are expected to do our part, for you have made us, not puppets, but people with minds to discern. Make us willing to think and think hard, clearly and honestly, guided by your voice within us and in accordance with the light you have given us. May we never fail to do the very best we can. Help us to pray in the knowledge that it all depends on you. Help us then to work as if it all depended on us, that together we may do that which is pleasing to you. And God, we plead with you to heal our land quickly. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you again, Reverend Mossler, for that very fine prayer. Do we have any visitors that wish to speak this morning or just wish to be recognized? Anybody? Okay. Moving on, agenda item number 5. I forgot to, I think it's Commissioner Haggard starting this.
Yes, it is. Just normal business this week, last week and everything. I do have a Zoom BAP meeting today at noon. We'll be doing that. I did just send out the minutes. Judge, I apologize. I didn't send them to you. I'll send them here in a second.
Okay, no worries.
I did send them to the commissioners as requested. Just working with Rich Saunders, working on the wind farms, waiting on the road agreement. Probably have that on the next agenda. Also, he's wanting to talk about further movement into that area. That wind farm is now up and running in Revere County and trying to move over to Lee County now. Going to set up a meeting this week with the new superintendent in Skidmore. I believe my daughter tells me it's the principal from Georgia West is the new superintendent. So I will be meeting with him and we'll update on the beacon system for the crossing of the school crossing. Should be with TxDOT still reeling from Hurricane Harvey. Probably still going to be waiting on the material. So other than that, meeting with TxDOT on a few issues this next week. One is speed limit coming into Tynan. Coming into Skidmore from Tynan. I don't know, most of y'all that travel that road know that it's 70 miles an hour all the way to the stop sign. And so I'll be meeting with them and see what we can do to just slow that down again. So other than that, it's just like I said, business as usual, phone calls and this and that. Commissioner Lewis?
Thank you, sir. I have several things that some of them are just informational. As you know, I took all weekend, wrote a few things down. We have plenty of time, sir?
Yes, sir. Take all the time you need.
No, in all seriousness, things are going well in the precinct. Had some calls about high grass on county roads, especially at intersections, Bronco Lane, one thing or another. Been referring them to Road and Bridge. Now, we need to give Road and Bridge a little bit of a pass right now, if you will. Several of their folks are out ill, and they're a little short-handed, so they'll get to these things as soon as they can. I would like to offer a few minutes of silence this morning, if we can bow our heads in just a second. Mr. Tom Keller in Mineral passed away. Mr. Keller was in his 90s. He was a school superintendent down in the valley. He and his family moved to the Mineral area several years ago, bought property. He's been very, very active and influential in the area. Thank you. Appreciate that. Some information, if you would, heard on the radio this morning that Broward County, and I'm not sure what state that's in, is trying something different with their virtual learning. They have the classroom operational. They have the teacher there with 360-degree camera above the teacher. So whatever the teacher's doing in the classroom now goes out to the virtual students, and they said it seems to be working very, very well. So that's something everybody can take a look at and go from there. They said that they can see the students raise the hands, and the ones that are home can see this, and it seems to be really helping them interact. So something brand new, something that's never been tried before, Broward County. One thing I'd like to do too is compliment Ms. Estrada and our county judge. They work very, very hard on a lot of things, but they get the COVID information out to us twice a week. We send it out to everybody, and I know that's not an easy thing, so thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you very much, Ms. Estrada. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's not an easy job, so we appreciate that. And with that, I'll pass to my colleague to the right.
Thank you, Commissioner DeWitt. Normal business, been working with Ray and Mike Knight on the issue on County Road 3004, and hopefully it can be resolved by the end of the week. Talking about, what you just mentioned about school using that 360-degree camera, found out through Facebook first, and asked my brother, the ISD and Skidmore both suspended all UIL activities for the time being due to the high count that we're experiencing in Lee County. Unfortunately, very unfortunately. Other than that, that's it. Just my understanding, we're having testing today, right, Mike? We're having testing today.
Okay, great.
Well, if you share with them what happened.
Yeah, sure. I take my time to share the Sheriff Southmaid. Is there a new committee or board position that
Oh, yes, yes.
Mr. Jones?
Actually, B County should be proud.
Come on down.
Can't leave now. Close the door.
There you go, block the door.
Thank you.
Yes, B County's own, Ronnie Jones was, elected voted in as a director on the board of directors for the Texas Chief Deputies Association. So that's, I'm not sure on the history. Good job, Ron.
Great
But
exposure.
we all know it's kind of a big deal.
That's awesome. That's excellent.
Texas, the Chief Deputy Association, I don't have their history with me, kind of caught me off guard. But they do quite a bit for law enforcement and sheriff's, association in Texas joined in. They do a lot of training and so forth, but it's a great organization. But he's worked hard the last few years and got on board.
Yeah.
That is great.
Good job, good job.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
No,
Chief Deputy Jones?
I appreciate it.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I don't have anything. I kind of had all those announcements last week or last time we sat down, and I didn't want to recreate that again. Obviously, we've got items on the agenda to discuss COVID. We can do that later. Otherwise, we've got, I know that our auditor, our tax assessor, and even our tax appraiser are all working diligently and hard for during these unique times with respect to how COVID impacts property valuations and all the number crunching that has to go in with. Sorry, I'm struggling with this. We are getting into math, and it's not my strong suit. But basically, a whole lot of work goes into the budget process, and the foundation for the budget process is determining what our tax base is. And so our tax assessor and our chief appraiser have been working very hard to get those numbers finalized so they can get them to April so that we can get our budget put together about. Moving on to agenda item number 6, public comment. Is there anybody that wishes to address Commissioners Court? All right. You always hope if you're just quiet long enough, somebody will volunteer to say something. Didn't work today, okay. No, that's okay, Commissioner. Agenda item number 7, the following items are of an administrative nature. Commissioners Court has been furnished documentation on each item, and all such items may be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a commissioner or county judge.
I move through with a couple of comments and maybe corrections.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner DeWitt, you have the floor.
On the change of status, we have, I think, 3 employees that their salary is $12. That's pretty good. Is that an hour, a month, a year? We need to put something next to it. I'm sure it's an hour,
It is an hour, yes.
but it just has $12.
Okay.
So, just a minor correction. And then another thing, and I have to ask the question first, with the we're leading into this backwards. I know the sheriff's office doesn't buy footwear for their staff, neither does Road and Bridge. But looking through the bills, we have a reimbursement. It's not the SO, it's not the Road and Bridge, for $84.99 for reimbursement for work boots. Is that a proper expense, Madam Auditor?
Well, it was submitted by a constable, for his uniform expense. If the court does not wanna, I mean, we have not had that go through. If the court does not wanna approve that, we will not reimburse.
The reason I'm asking, when I was with the state, they supplied our uniforms, but they didn't supply the footwear. So we gave our director a hard time about supplying footwear. He said, you know what? No problem. Anything TDCJ makes, we'll apply for. So we didn't get the footwear. In my opinion, I don't think, maybe we need more information on this, because if we approve this, that opens the door for every other state, county employee that's getting clothing allowance to say, well, you know, y'all pay for his work boots, I want you to pay for mine.
Well, there's clothing allowance, and it's not part of policy, but again, if the court does not wanna approve it, we will not reimburse the expense. How much is it?
$84. I'd recommend the court that we take a hard look at this. It's not in our policy to reimburse or buy footwear for county employees. I don't think we should do this. It opens the door. 'Cause how are we gonna say to somebody else, you did it for him or her, why don't you do it for me?
The sheriff's office and the jail receive a clothing allowance, so if they, you know, choose to buy that with the monies that they get in their payroll check, that is it.
That's a whole different story.
Exactly,
Because
and that's what the sheriff's office and the jail do receive.
That is correct, because they get, let's say they get $100, I can spend it any way I want. This is different, I've spent $100, now I want you to pay me back.
Yes, and the constables do get a uniform allowance, and so what they spend does have to go through as a reimbursement expense, or if they procure it, then we pay the purchase
Wait.
order.
The clothing allowance is in their check, right?
Yes, sir.
So they-
For the sheriff's office and the jail, yes.
What about the constable?
No, the constables are the only ones that have a line item for uniform expense.
I'll open it up to the court. How do y'all feel about this?
Okay, so you're telling me that they have a uniform expense
Line item.
line item, which is the same as the sheriff's department having a $100, whatever it is, clothing allowance.
It's larger than that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's larger than that, but I'm just saying.
Yes, they have it in their paycheck. Yes, it's different in that way, yes.
What, okay, so I understand that, but if we just gave him how come we're reimbursing him?
Exactly.
It's not in the constable's paycheck. They have a line item.
Okay.
And so they have to procure it like a regular expense, or they buy it and then they ask for reimbursement. It can be either or, and that's part of policy.
So if we change our policy and put the money into their paycheck, we
Policy
wouldn't be
would
asking any
be-
questions.
Policy would be what they can buy with it. So if we put in policy that if clothing allowance cannot be spent on boots, then that would be us policing what is put into somebody's paycheck for their clothing allowance, which is the sheriff's office and the jail. I mean, how is that, do we ask for receipts? Is that gonna be part of the policy?
Maybe I'm misstating. You give me $100 for clothing allowance, I can spend it any way I want. Period. But if you say you've got a line item in your budget for clothing, but I have to buy it and get reimbursed, why would you be reimbursed if it's in their budget?
Sometimes, department heads, staff, they buy things from their budget line items and they ask for reimbursement. And that's part of the policy. That's in the policy to request reimbursement if it falls in line. And so sometimes they do get a purchase order and we pay the vendor directly, but sometimes they pay it out of their own pocket and they ask for reimbursement. It can be done either way.
What's to say that I'll buy a $400 pair of Lucchese boots is my uniform boots? Where do we,
The problem is the money's allocated to the elected official. Therefore, he can spend it as he so chooses, and if he wants to waste it all on the 400 pair of boots for his clothing allowance, guess what?
He's out $400.
Yeah,
That's what we approved that.
Well,
We cannot-
the constables get a $200, you know, clothing or, you know, uniform expense line item.
We've been to the rodeo before
Yes.
where that's their money, we might not like how they spend it. or
This
what
is
they
not
buy
part of
on,
policy. We don't have it in
You know,
policy that you
exactly.
can buy A, B, and C and get reimbursed
now-
for A, B, and C.
If we're not happy with this purchase, guess what?
well, let me ask you a
Well,
question. If it's $200, does this go over the $200 or is it
No,
within the $200?
no, I do not, I would not approve something that
Let me
went
do
over
this,
budget.
let me withdraw my objection and approve it.
Thank you.
Since it's coded that way in the budget, they can spend $200 for just about anything they want to call it uniform allowance.
Well, I mean, Commissioner, that,
Do we need to revisit policy?
I think so, after the fact. We don't want to change anything now.
who wants to revisit it? You want to submit something for policy suggestion?
Footwear is not allowed.
Okay,
That's my suggestion.
okay, well,
Unless it's from TDCJ. They can order from TDCJ just like we did with the state, Rogan boots.
I believe the policy committee has a form that they submit requests to, you know, to review policy. So I know that Candy has.
We'll get that.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it.
We'll take
So
care of it.
I withdraw my
Commissioner
objection
to it.
at this time. As long as he's within his $200.
Of course, yes, sir.
That's it, sir.
Ms. Cantu, do you have anything you'd like to add before I call the vote?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any other questions, concerns, changes? Okay, subject to, the revision of the change in status forms to show that the $12 is $12 an hour. Your motion to approve remains the same?
It does.
And your second stays the same? All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Deliberate, and consider action on the following items. I think it's the fact that deliberate and consider doesn't seem to go together, but, it just doesn't work for me. So deliberate and consider action on the following items. Agenda item number 8, project expenditure approval for Walker Engineering invoice dated July 23rd, 2020 for the Sheriff's Office new jail.
Move to approve is presented.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Agenda item number 9, B County Commissioners Court regular term meeting schedule for fiscal year 2020-2021.
I move to approve. I had a few corrections that I've already given the clerk.
Oh, excellent. We have a motion to approve subject to the corrections that were made. What were the corrections, just in general?
Wordsmithing.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 10, B County holiday schedule for fiscal year 2021.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I wanna thank Candy Estrada for preparing it and running it through myself, and I think Laura got to look at it and it was correct.
This seems short. This is only one page, Candy.
It's
Oh, this doesn't, oh, is it smaller? Is that what it is? Are we missing some holidays on here? I can support that.
all of our exceptions. Yes, that is true.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen.
Just a comment, the county is very generous with holidays,
Yes, they are.
very generous.
I work for a company that does not approve most of these.
Yeah. I thought the state was generous, the county is very generous, and they earn it.
And they're well deserved.
Yes, they are.
Exactly.
That's one way to show appreciation, and if the pay isn't where it should be, at least the holidays are.
We do that.
And then some.
Well, they used to tell us in lieu of a pay raise, you get another holiday.
Agenda item number 11, resolution authorizing county grant program year 2021 for the Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas Feeding Texans Feeding Texans Home Delivered Meals Grant Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Agenda item number 12, resolution to adopt design standards, specifications, and quality assurance requirements for projects under the County Transportation Infrastructure Fund CTIF 2020 program.
Move to approve the comment.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
You have a second?
The
Commissioner
comment,
DeWitt?
this is the program that, Mr. Gonzalez has put together and is, administering, is that correct?
Yes.
Because it gets confusing, but the next item, I think, make sure these don't overlap, so.
Correct.
Okay. That's what's correct. All right, great.
Are there any further, discussion? Any commissioners? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 13, agreement between B County and Grant Works, Inc. for project delivery services for the County Transportation Infrastructure Fund CTIF 2020 program. This is the big project that we're currently trying to identify projects for. It's redundant.
Move to approve.
Move, second, with a question.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner DeWitt, please proceed.
Yeah, looking at this contract, it shows $22,770.72, that the county would be liable for. Is that only if there are contracts, or is that regardless if there's contracts?
That is a good question. Do we
It does
have,
say contract amount.
Well, I remember when we got into that situation, we thought something was gonna cost us something, till we got a bill for $113,000, so I'm gun shy now.
Well, this TIF grant was asked for that at the beginning, Commissioner, and they did say that until anything was approved and committed by the Commissioner's Court, then nothing would be incurred by the county.
It says there, the fees of each task will be prorated to each project's share of the total budget construction cost. And if there's no construction cost, then there's nothing to prorate.
There's no fee, yeah.
Well, I see it says client agrees to pay consultant a base fee of $22,700. And then it says, this fee for each task will be prorated for each project share of the total budgeted construction cost. I appreciate what we're saying, I just want to be sure. Can we maybe temper our motion that, this continues, that these costs will only be incurred if we come up with a project?
I believe the project was already submitted. Ray with Road and Bridge already submitted a project.
oh, we did.
So this is the TIF grant.
Is
The
this-
one that y'all might be talking about is the mitigation.
Oh,
And that says MIT,
You don't
but
have to
this is
call
the
it.
C
Okay.
tip,
Now,
and this
Thank
is
you.
Tech Dot.
which one is it with the, stuff on the flooding? The,
That's mitigation.
That's a mitigation.
And that's the one we
Is this the
haven't-
oil and gas one?
This is the one Ray did,
Oh,
and
this
this is the one he did with the equipment, you remember that y'all talked about, and he said hopefully
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have
Mhm.
some money come in and help with road and bridge
I
equipment.
thought that was the one we just looked at.
It's both of them, sir, and they both say C-tip.
That's why I'm getting confused. Help me
Yes,
out with
they
that.
both say C-tip, sir. And so they are both Tech Dot grants, and they're the ones that Ray submitted his proposal.
But the one we did first is the one where Ray's totally taken care of it.
Both
Grantworks
of
is not
these
involved.
are, both of these, Grantworks is involved, yes, sir.
Grantworks involved with Ray's also?
Yes, sir. We procured that admin as well, and that was a few months ago. Mitigation is the one we just have done and procured grant work again.
Which one is Ivan involved with ICE?
That is, water board. That's the one that,
Okay.
that
Neither one of
Ivan came
these.
and asked us about
Okay.
for him to submit, and that's Texas Water Board.
But both of these are strictly raised.
Yes, they're both C-tip, and they say it on there, it's the County Transportation Infrastructure Fund.
Yeah.
And that's what'll let you know, that TIF, that's the tech stop.
And both of them are the exact same
They're
project?
both the exact same project.
Okay, so I was mistaken.
Okay, that's, yeah. So, same.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, sir. This is the one that's already kind of in motion.
This is
It's
the one that we're getting to
mitigation.
use, in-kind
It's a pretty much,
as
Yeah.
our,
Yes, that was worked into
shared with them.
the
A pretty much
project.
done
Yes,
deal.
so, that was worked
that
into
was,
the project.
we call that free money. That's.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this
200
is the
and
good
some
one,
odd
yeah.
thousand.
This is, this is all edge work and reseal and things like this.
And Grantworks involved to help shepherd us through the
Of course,
paperwork and everything.
yes, sir.
Okay. So we will be paying this amount.
Any further discussion? Questions? We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you. Okay, so we got turned around on that one as well.
I appreciate it, Judge. No.
Hey, Commissioner Howard.
Oh, that's okay. That's $1,000 fund.
I heard that.
I'll take that check from the county.
Please check the scale.
Yeah.
They already took our pictures.
That's why I left them there. I knew you were coming.
All right.
They took our pictures already.
Oh, that's right, we were gonna do that today.
No.
No, we did it earlier.
They got the
I missed it too.
They got that picture when you turned around.
Oh.
You didn't hear click.
That was very So glad you're here. Okay, agenda item number 14, County Feral Hog Abatement Grant Program Requirements and Procedures. Mr. Gulick is here this morning. Mr. Gulick, you have the floor. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Danny Hewitt from the D County Area Life Extension Office. Good morning, Commissioners. How are you all today?
Good morning, sir.
Very good. Well, this is a grant that's an annual grant that Wildlife Services and Texas A&M Area Life Extension gives to county governments to help control and manage feral hogs within the county. Like all the counties in this area, we do have a high feral hog population that does cause a lot of headaches for our landowners, destruction to the land, water quality issues, and even some livestock diseases that feral hogs can transmit to livestock. This grant program, the applications are currently open. They opened on August 1st and they closed on August 28th. Anticipated award date would be October. It's on a reimbursement format. It's on a 90-10, meaning that if we do get awarded this grant and we do make equipment purchases, and I'll talk about that in a minute, they would refund 90% right up front, and then you get the other 10% after the end of the year, after you've met all your contract requirements, the reporting, the workshops, the educational programs that you said you were going to do in the grant. So They're awarding 15 grants. They're anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 in awarded grant money. One thing I was thinking about purchasing, because Goliad County has one and they got it through this grant, was one of those electronic remote control traps that drop down. They've had good success with it, in Goliad County. I've talked to the, agent over there, Brian Yanta. Ever since Goliad County got one, I get calls all the time at the extension office asking if we've got one. Said, no, sir, we currently don't. But it's something maybe we could think about getting in the future. I've priced them. If you guys maybe want to get on the internet after your commissioner's court meeting today, it's called Boarbuster. It's a trap maker. They're actually made in Oklahoma. I've priced them. They're about $8,000 with everything in it. And then you've got a, it's a $70 a month contract fee for the wireless service provider. It works off AT&T internet service, 4G. So anywhere you've got 4G internet, the trap will be functional. And it's removable, portable. It can be all broken down and put into the bed of a full-size pickup truck. So that makes it nice. I know in Goliad County, they wrote their grant to where it's a free for anybody. Well, not free, but there's a little small service charge that they charge the landowner just to help with that $70 a month to keep up the wireless provider fee. And so the landowner would pay for that. And then the trap would get deployed, used for a week or two, and then try to catch as many pigs on that property as they can, and they would go to the next person on the list. So that's just an idea. I know there's other ways we could spend the grant money. They do have like a pig quota where you would people would bring in feral pigs, like an ear or something, and they would pay to a max of $5 per ear. So, I guess a incentive for people killing animal, harvesting those ears and then bringing them in for like a bounty. That's another thing possible we could do. But any questions on this? I know I emailed it to you all on Wednesday, I believe. If you want a copy of the grant itself, I have a few copies for you all. But any questions? I know it's one thing I want to point out too. The contract has to be signed by the county judge, somebody who's legally able to bind the county in a contract. So that's why I'm here with you guys today on this. But any questions?
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say that the county did this,
Mm-hmm.
either the boarbuster or the ears.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in charge? Who does that?
In Goliad County, we have one here. We have the Wildlife Management Association. They have their county. Those volunteers actually manage and help set up the trap. So I was thinking about maybe we could possibly do that here. I'm sure most of y'all maybe know Frank Massey, the president of the E County Wildlife Management Association. I haven't approached him yet. He's on my list of people to call today. I know him and I have talked about it in the past because he told me that, he talked to the gentleman in Goliad County. He's like, yeah, it's something we would like to do here. So that would be a potential using those guys as managing the trap, things like that.
I know years ago when they had the coyote bounty, they had to bring in the full set of ears. They couldn't be cut apart. And when they brought the pair of ears in, they paid them, cut them apart, and threw them away. So you're saying that volunteers would do this?
On the trap, that's how Goliad County does it. That's an option. We could think of maybe something else. I tend to like the trap option because once it's bought, it's ours and we can use it for years. Whereas the bounty method, you've only got so much money and it's, you can only do 50% of the grant money on bounty. So once that's all paid out, it's gone. So I do tend to kind of go towards the trap just because it can be used for years and years and years.
This grant was here last year too, wasn't it?
Yes, I got
Did we
here.
participate last year? Did we participate?
No, sir. I got here in the county like right at September 1, so I knew the grant, but I got here a little.
We missed it.
We missed it, and then when I came up this year, this year I'm gonna plan maybe trying to get some grant money. And it's just because the landowner.
My only fear on that is that we could get it and we get all excited about it right away, but then if it's all volunteers,
Mhm.
who's gonna keep the program going?
That's a good question. Something we probably need to decide later on, or how we can manage the trap and keep it going and make sure it doesn't
You gonna be in charge of all this?
Let me visit with Goliad one more time, see how Brian gets his complete detail. I know Brian does a lot of the reporting, because once you do get awarded the grant, you have to report monthly on how many feral hogs we're taking, where's the trap at, the workshops you've done. So Brian tends to keep track of that and the financial side of it, keeping receipts, all your expenses, things like that. I would be willing to do that as well. I find over there in Goliad.
Well, let me,
I've seen the
there was
video,
something in the
Commissioner.
paper on August the sixth by, Karen Benson, the master naturalist, about the hogs. It is excellent, talks about that, when you have a group of hogs together, they are sounds, what are they called, sounders? That's a herd of hogs. This is excellent information about how they get educated, they get smart real quick, so if you don't have this article, I'll be happy to let you have my copy, but it is excellent.
Let me add, Commissioner, you and I attended last year in Edna.
Yep.
And it was a 45-minute article on hogs, the amount of damage that's done, and the amount of money that is spent, and
Yes.
the amount of money that's out there to spend to get rid of these hogs. Yeah, I mean, if you can, get some more information and work this out, I think it's excellent. I just don't want to.
No, the idea is
I don't want
great.
to
The only
purchase
thing is
it,
that I
and then
don't
it
wanna
wind
see
up sitting in a
Yeah,
barn somewhere.
Exactly right.
I
Sitting
just
in the
don't
barn
want
and then
it
you lose a
sitting
piece
in the barn.
here, you lose a piece there, and, oh, we need to buy another piece.
And then all of a sudden, it's out on the ranch and it gets tore up and nobody knows what happened.
And then the state says, wait a minute, where's our trap?
Yeah.
Because I know the state, they'll check on it periodically, because it's gonna have a property number on it.
How about the reporting? You do all the reporting for that?
I would volunteer myself to do all the reporting to Wildlife Services and saying how many people you're taking.
We have $10,000 anywhere, just laying around.
And that's the thing, it's not part of
The grant will.
Well, it's
Well,
reimbursed, it's
reimbursement.
first.
Yeah.
The reimbursement.
So the county would have to come up with the money
Yeah.
initially,
And
and
then-
then it's on a 90/10. So you get 90% reimbursement upfront, and then after the end of the year, it's after you kept all your contract obligations.
Do we have $9,000?
Mr. Dulac, I'd like to know if that's after the end of that grant year, if the equipment, if it still has to be utilized, what happens if you leave and the program isn't something that we continue and your successor doesn't wanna work with it? Does the county face, is there a life of this equipment that we acquire with grant funds? I think that's an issue I'd like to know. I'd also like to know, I think you'd like to know, and I think the Commissioners Court would like to know, as far as the grant application itself, is that something that you're going to be preparing? And if it is something that you're thinking about preparing, maybe you can talk to your counterpart over in Goliad, and maybe he can give you his application, and you can use it as a starting point. Another issue that I think you probably need to figure out, and the Commissioners Court needs to know about as well, is where would this piece of equipment be stored? That'll probably require you interacting with maintenance, road and bridge, maybe even the sheriff's office, just different entities to kind of figure out where could we store this thing if it's going to be stored on county property, and what does that look like, and what sort of costs might come with that. And because if it's gonna be trailered, I know it says it can fit in the back of the truck when it's all broken down, but I mean, for purposes of not losing the one widget that you need to make the thing, we've all had that, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably something that's like a more cohesive, so those two things, make sure you have an understanding of what expectations would be required of you, with respect to, the paperwork, component of operating the grant. What else am I missing? I thought there was one
I
other thing.
saw one video, there's that board buster, and it required electronic equipment to set it off.
Yeah.
How do you get, what,
So the package deal, there's two packages, one's 7,000, one's 8,000. The $8,000 one, you get color live streaming, the other one's in black and white. I don't know.
No, but to set it off, I mean, yeah, no, you can video that.
What it is there's two modems. There's a game camera type modem that works off the 4G, AT&T internet service, communicates an app off your phone that lets you know when there's movement in the trap. And then, you know, ideally you would disarm it for a week, feed underneath the trap, and then arm it, get movement on the trap, and then, okay, you think you've got the whole sounder under the trap, hit the button, and it drops. And then the modem connects wireless to the trap where the trigger modem is, and that's where it drops. And both of them work off of either D-type batteries, like 9V batteries, or 12-volt car batteries. So you can set up for longer battery life, you can set up a car battery next to each modem so they can communicate with each other.
So the maintenance cost involved plus the $70 a month.
Plus, we don't have our own, it's not our own staff that's gonna be operating and, the thing is gonna be.
There's a lot of
volunteer.
variables in this.
It's something to consider, you know, maybe even get maybe a small insurance claim on that piece of equipment. So if something did happen to you.
The idea is great.
Yeah.
It really
I
is.
know, I mean, the idea is fantastic. The only thing is, it's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, and that's why, you know, y'all are welcome maybe to reach out to the Goliad County Commissioners Court and see what they think about it, or I can reach out to them myself. And I can speak with the Goliad County Wildlife Management Association.
I think we're more concerned with the mechanics of how it'll operate on your side of the equation, not on, like, we all think it's a great idea. I think the only thing from our perspective that I see being a practical issue is if we buy one trap, and we use one trap over the course of the year, we got a big enough county, and we got farmers in the south part of the county and ranchers in the north part of the county, and they have different damage concerns with respect to hogs, and so it's something that, but that's my concern, is that one will just show how great a need there is for multiple units.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was the other thing that I think you need to figure out for the Commissioner's Court is how's the process for determining where it goes? Who's gonna make that? Because if it's vested in one person, you know, that may be perfectly fine, that may be something that ends up not being a good situation for the county, I just don't know.
You know, one thing that's different between Goliad County and B County is the amount of farms in B County as opposed to Goliad County. It's ranch country in Goliad County. So that's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah. I think there's probably only about 5,000 acres of farmland in Goliad County. Here, you know, there's, 40,000 acres, so big difference.
That's a great idea, though.
There's 5,000 acres just in one little section.
Yeah, one
B County, doesn't matter which part of B County.
Yeah.
We meet again the 24th, just when we bring this back to
And
different.
the deadline's the 28th.
The trap's just one idea. It is, I do tend to like it just because we've used for years. Or we can do the, bounty, ear method instead.
I tend to agree with you that is,
It's just a logistic.
yeah, that faces a different issue, that if somebody comes in with a whole bunch of hog ears and then we're done, the next person comes in on the understanding that they're getting paid for.
There's another aspect it's kind of distasteful to me is that you kill these hogs and you got the ears and now you dispose of the hogs, where if you catch them in a trap, they can be sold.
Yes. And the trap does have a chute where you can back up a trailer and load them right up into the chute. That's also good for trapping as well, because if you don't get the whole sounder, instead of harvesting the pigs in the trap, you can load them up, take them, and then rearm the trap. And a lot of times the other half of the herd will come back that night looking for their,
Do we have a wild game processor in the?
Well, we have
County
elders.
region? Will
Elders.
we-
Elders won't do wild hogs.
They sell those hogs
Elders,
overseas,
they won't do wild hogs.
they sell them overseas as wild boar.
Yeah, that's plenty, big fine.
Well, I can tell you, my cousin, out of Hunt, Texas, has a big wild game operation, and the requirements and process out in the field, the USDA or FDA, whatever the standards are, means that they have to have a facility, a trailerable facility that has, meets the same requirements as a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Or a butcher shop, and so, it'd be, I mean, regardless, I just don't know if there's a hog processor who'd be interested in.
I know Texas Animal Health Commission has a PDF where it tells you like address, phone number, and name of people that buy feral hogs, and then like Commissioner Federico said, there's a gentleman in Divine that buys them, but I think he just buys them and he transports them to the packer, so.
Just the holding facility in buys them by bulk.
You can coordinate with Goliad, they're doing something with theirs.
Yeah, great idea. And yeah, so if we do hold off on making a decision until the 24th, that gives you enough time. If you come back on the 24th with your packet of information ready to be sent off, the application ready to be sent off, then with our questions.
I would suggest that you have all your, ducks in a row, have all your ducks in the pen, and when you come in here and we give you the yay or nay, go from there.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good, and that was anything, I just wanted to introduce it to y'all, get y'all's ideas, get the logistics side of the thing figured out over the next week or so.
Right.
And then come back and come forward.
Make a motion to, I guess they make a motion to adjourn.
Don't leave me here.
Make a motion to adjourn.
You're ready to get to the budget meeting.
Excited, let's go.
I have a motion to table. Do I need a second? I've got a second. Do we vote or is it automatic? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Gulick. Agenda item number 15, I'm just gonna read it out and I'll talk about it real quickly. Free vaccinations, immunizations administered and organized by the Texas Department of State Health Services for adults and children in the month of August 2020 at the Pettis Community Center. Unfortunately, that has not materialized. We finally got confirmation. Mr. Willow has been chasing the state for the last probably 7-10 days. We've been trying to get an answer back to them. And obviously, they're juggling more than one thing at the state right now, and this project did not actually make it to the execution phase. So there will be, there's going to be no action taken on this item. I just wanted to explain that since we had put it on the agenda prospectively and hopefully last Wednesday or Thursday that we would be able to announce this, but unfortunately, we're not. Moving on, agenda item number 16, contract renewal or property purchase regarding Toledo Citizens Collection Station. Commissioner DeWitt, this is your item. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir, no, I need to speak quite a bit, my glasses, so I'm going to permission to remove my mask while I speak.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll move away.
What we have, gentlemen, our contract expired December 31st on our Citizens Collection Station in Toledo. Betty Beck passed away some time ago. We had the contract with her. Her son has, from what we understand, inherited the property. He's hard to get a hold of, and we want to get this done as soon as possible. And what I've done, I have drafted 2 letters for the court for use and see if it's what we want to do. And Judge, do you want me to read these into the record?
No, I don't think that's
Okay.
necessary, but if you have copies, you can take a look at them real quick.
I have copies here. Basically, what it amounts to, we want to send a copy of a new contract to Mr. Beck with instructions that if this is agreeable to you, please sign the contract, notarize it, and get it back to us. Like I say, it's hard to get a hold of. We do have an address. I didn't put it on the papers because it's public information. And also, I wanted to talk to the court about possibly asking him if he'd like to sell us the property in lieu of leasing it. The county has leased it for the last 20 or 30 years, and I think about $100 a month. That was the standard fee. That way, in the future, we wouldn't get in this situation again. I think the leases have been 10 years at a time. And then the amount that I put in this draft is the appraised value, which would be on what's on CCAT on the county website. He may or may not be amenable to that. The thing we're going to run into is that December 31st will be here real quick. And if we don't have a decision on what we're going to do, then we're going to have to remove all our equipment from that site and find another site. As of right now, I know that Mr. Carbajal, Road Bridge, I've talked to one realtor. We've got several people looking for another site up in that area. We need 3 to 5 acres. We have to put in a water well, septic system, concrete slab. That's all there at this site. So there is an expense to the county, and we don't want to disrupt the collection stations. We have one in the south. Commissioner Haggard has done a fantastic job. Got with the highway department, bought some old railroad right-of-way property. It is in an excellent location. We've also talked to the highway engineer out of Kennedy. He's looking to see if there might be some property surplus on the railroad right of way. He told me that, most likely there will not be because of some ongoing possible construction. So we need to get this going. And Judge, if you will, consider these total drafts. Wordsmith them any way you'd like to if the court approves this. They need to be, in my opinion, sent certified return receipt. And, all we can do is see what happens. I don't have a better suggestion unless somebody does. This person is hard to get a hold of. He's hard to contact. Ray Gonzalez, our road and bridge administrator, has tried to contact him several times by phone. His phone messaging system says it's full, won't take any more. He finally did get to him with a phone, and the gentleman said, well, I'll talk to you in August. So I've talked to some of his family members, and they say, yes, he is hard to get a hold of. He lives somewhere on the property. And if somebody has a better suggestion, I'm more than welcome to listen to it, but this is all I've come up with is we do have a good address. We had our tax office check to see who was paying the taxes on the property. Mr. Wayne Beck is paying the taxes. So we have his address. Judge, if anybody has a better suggestion, please, I'm open.
I think that's great. I think it's a good. Dollars and cents to start over at a different location would be expensive.
Yes.
Because they got electricity, they got water, they got slabs out there, they've got the portable buildings.
Well, you gotta build a ramp.
You gotta build a ramp. It would be real expensive to start over at a different location.
I'll remember you. Yes.
That's
And
all.
the thing of it is,
And I do know Ray can give you those figures because Skidmore had to do that. Skidmore had to come in and build new ramps and to build new concrete slab. Portable building was moved over there. In fact, the one that was at Skidmore's original one, and they were afraid to even touch it because if you slammed the door hard enough, it would fall apart. That's how old that one was. So they got
You got a good project commission with it.
well, the first step. If not, I think that,
I think
He's not following that.
I know, I could tell, I could see the smile through the mask.
No, come on.
But, and if anybody out there in B County has some property they would like to talk to us about that might be in the Toledo area, that's where we'd like to keep this, Normanna, Toledo, Pettus area, because it serves North B County. Please contact me. We'll be happy to talk to you. We need to keep moving on this and get it done quickly.
Let me add, just be very cautious when somebody donates land, because when we were looking in Skidmore, I had 3 places, more than willing to donate land. And I had more than enough people call me about, you better not put it there. So,
I understand.
very cautiously and people are willing to do it, and I'm not saying that, but, I think when we finally made the complete move around there and the town hall meeting and everything else, that's, and that may be one thing you look at is maybe hold a town hall meeting and explain the situation, and it's possible it could come out.
We can probably get that letter out today, Commissioner. I don't think we need any action on it.
Well, move to approve the, contract renewal of property purchase, documents to be mailed out.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Agenda item number 17, Co-File Technologies, Inc. proposal for the formatting or capture of county digital images for upload to the B County Clerk's recording system.
Good morning, Nicole Gonzalez, County Clerk. We've already discussed this topic once. We decided to table it so we could revisit it later on once we figured out some numbers. I'm gonna go ahead and just bring up Kathy Drolet. You're all familiar with her already, and let her just kind of take the wheel.
Sure. And, again, it's always so nice to be here with the court and to be here in person as opposed to a Zoom call. It is kind of difficult to get your reactions behind the mask, but I'm just gonna assume that, I'm gonna read smiley eyes. As you all know, this is, not our first rodeo here with Co-File Technologies. I'm the account rep here for this territory. Kathy I'm finding with my, counties is, we're very busy. Proposals that county governments have reviewed in the past and have not taken action on now have a new sense of urgency, and these, projects typically deal with making records available online, reducing the traffic through the courthouse, providing the, clerk's offices with opportunities to work remotely. So those are the kind of solutions that we're really getting, a lot of traction on right now, especially during this outbreak. But just as a quick overview, we have 9 office locations nationwide, about 500 employees, $72 million annually, and we are on both the federal procurement schedule as well as the TexMass local schedule. The projects that have been approved by the court previously, and this first project is really going to be important as a diving board to this project that we're bringing to the court now. The first project was a project that we call Quick Link Light. And what that project is any land record, deed, oil, or gas that I need to find in the courthouse that is 1995 and back to sovereignty, I physically have to come to the courthouse and look through index books. And those index books will point me to a volume and page within the courthouse where I now have to walk down and pull down a volume and turn to the page to find the document I'm looking for. So all this requires the clerk's staff to be on site, the clerk's office to be open, and a physical, a lot of times, 90% of the time, a physical visit. Well, during this COVID, that's what we're trying to get all of our records online. So from 1995 to present, all of those land records are currently in her Vanguard Land and Record System, and they are available online. And your constituents are able to go to that platform and download records and documents online. They're also able to get a certified copy of a land record from the clerk's office online. So again, we're eliminating the need to come to the courthouse. But the problem is from 1995 back to sovereignty, those records are just not in the system, and it requires an in-courthouse visit. We have the other project that was approved, and matter of fact, we delivered back to the clerk's office, was preservation and restoration of the county's maps and plats collection. So we have made, we've preserved those maps and plats. We have made 2-scale digital images of all the maps and plats. We have indexed all the maps and plats. And right now, that project is in queue to our Vanguard folks to import that into the Land and Vital system as well. So now, I would be able, as a constituent or a part of the public, to be able to search the maps and plats collection from my home and purchase and download a copy of these maps and plats. So that project's in queue to be imported into Vanguard. The physical maps and plats have been returned to the clerk's office and placed back into the plat cabinet. And then the last project that was approved by Commissioner's Court is the Vanguard Land and Vital System. And just a couple of highlights on the Vanguard system. It is a true cloud-based system. So the courthouse could have a fire or water, and the Vanguard system would still be up and running. The clerk's office could pack up their equipment, go over to the library, and continue continuity. Also, since it's a true cloud-based scenario, you are protected from your land and vital and other records that are in that platform from ransomware. We did have a county that had ransomware, and I believe the county ended up paying the ransom, but the Vanguard system kept up and running. Since we're not local on the network, we're in a cloud-based environment, she didn't miss a beat. So again, the Land and Vital, what's also nice about the Land and Vital system, and that's really critical here that I mention this as we move forward to this next project with the court's permission, is that the Vanguard system takes all of these documents, and if the documents are typescript, it runs optical character recognition in the background. So all of these land records, all of these birth certs, all of the records that reside in the system is putting text behind that. So what does that mean to me? If I want to search for my property, and I don't know my brief legal description, I can't remember who I bought the property from, I don't know the grantor or the grantee, what that means for me is I can go into the system and I can simply type in my physical address, and the system will search all of the documents in its repository and give me a hit on every document that has my physical address. I can search by my name, Catherine J. Drolet, and the system will come back and give me a hit on every document that it has my name, and that's important with land records. So, and especially as we move into this next project. So moving into this next project that the clerk's office is seeking approval for is many years ago, company ACS came in and they imaged all the land records in the clerk's office. The product that they delivered back to the clerk's office in the day is a single-page tip. Single-page tip. So what that means is back in the day, land records could end on the top half of the page and a separate land record start at the bottom of the page. So basically, these single-page tips, if I were at the beginning or an end of a land record, I would get either the beginning or the end of somebody else's land record, right? So what we are proposing to do is the images that are usable, that are acceptable, we are proposing to split all those images and group them together as a multi-page PDF document and index those records by the volume and page in the book. Okay, this is where it gets really important. Because if I am going electronically through those index books on the site, and I am sitting at my home and I'm going through there electronically, I can find Kathy Drolet in the index book, and I just simply go over and look for the volume and page. And I can write down the volume and page of all the land records that I would like to either, view, purview, or purchase. And then from that quick link site, we are proposing to build a link that if I click on that link, it pushes me over into the Vanguard system, where now these records reside by volume and page. And now I'm able to search these records either by volume and page, or as I mentioned previously, if they're typescript records, I could have just gone into the Vanguard system initially and typed in Catherine Drolet and gotten a hit, okay? So that's why it's important. When we approached the court previously, we had indexing costs associated with these land records. And the indexing cost is expensive. Indexing land records is a very, very expensive proposition because we index all the grantors, we index all the grantees, we do the short, brief legal description, the document type, the file date, the recording date. All of these things are indexed around each document, and not only do we index them once, we do double blind key indexing. We index them twice, 2 different people, 2 different days of the week. So what happens is if there's 100,000 land records that we're indexing, we're actually indexing $200,000 land records because we're eliminating typographical errors because these land records are archival and historical. So what coming, forward to the court today, we removed the indexing from the original proposal to get it down to a manageable number, a number that the clerk's office can, manage. So, again, now, some of these records, some of these images are just totally unacceptable. And if this is the first deed record book, and I love it. Please handle with care. Ladies, is it okay if I approach this table? I love it. Please handle with care. So this is deed record A. This is the first, land record here. I'm going to turn to the first page. See the tape? In your proposal, on page, I believe it's page 4, is the digital image of this first page. Yeah, here it is. The first thing that I will note is the images that the clerk's office were given, where the tape is black. That's hiding information. And also, I've never quite seen this before. I've seen duct tape. Typically, if, no offense, but if men are, the clerk back 50 years ago, this is going to be covered with duct tape. I mean, duct tape, got the shuttle back. So, but this is surgical tape here. And you can see here on the document that hides the record. So, also, the other thing I will caution you is this original book is just covered with tape.
Well, I mentioned the dates on that book as well.
Yeah, this date is 1855 is the first recording, and it's from Goliad. It's when the county spun off from Goliad and San Patricio. So these records here predate your sovereignty. The other thing that I want to bring to your attention, as well as we get to the back, we're actually losing the history. The pages are coming out of the book. We're actually losing your history, and you can see here where the writing, if this continues, and if we lose any part of these pages, you're actually going to lose the record, okay? So basically what I did is I reviewed the images from the handwritten records. And I determined that those images, because there's a lot of tape on them, are not going to be acceptable for this project. Including in this proposal, we will come and re-image all of these handwritten land records. And with our proprietary software, we can eliminate these blockages here and bring out the images that are underneath, the handwriting. Our proprietary software goes down 256 layers in each piece of paper, so if a county clerk stamped the document 100 years ago and you physically can't see the stamp anymore on the page, because it left a shadow, we can bring that out. So I just want to bring that out. So in this proposal, and I'll gladly go through the proposal. Again, we're going to be grouping documents together, indexing them by volume and page, and importing them into the Vanguard system. The Vanguard system, if it's TypeScript, will be reading the document, so researchers can search by name or physical address, or they can go to the quick link site where the index books are available and search for volume and page there. The county clerk staff during downtime, when does that ever happen? But on their own time, has agreed to start indexing, once they're in the Vanguard system, then they can start indexing these records as time permits. And I believe, Nicole, that you visited with your staff, and how long does it take to index one land record?
Generally less than 10 minutes. Of course, if there's more grantees, grantors, it's going to take longer, but even out of those typical, I've asked them all 10 minutes max. So it's feasible that they would be able to do 10, 15, 20 a day, depending on the workflow of the office.
which should decrease because now we're not gonna have to have all those landmen coming in, all those title companies, they'll be able to do all these dealings online. And I even had Kathy pull some numbers just because I was curious. Of course, we just went live with this in December, the end of December, beginning of January. But numbers a couple of months ago had started doubling of online purchases. So I truly feel if we have it out there for people to purchase, it will get bought. During this pandemic, you know, we've had to do by appointments only, if that's an inconvenience to people. When they could have just stayed at home and been able to do all this online. But some of them, they've had to come from out of other counties because they've had to come and pull those big old books and do the research here, and this will just make it available at their fingertips. And it will also preserve our county history.
So the record series included in this project are deeds, deeds of trust, oil and gas, commissioner court minute volumes, and marriage register and marriage record books. Two of the volumes, this deed record A I just demonstrated to you, and deed record B, those two volumes are historical and predate the county's sovereignty. And only on those two records have we recommended full preservation, okay, full preservation. Number one, we want to keep the cost of this proposal down and at least capture the best image possible that we can. So with full preservation, what that looks like is we take that deed record and we preserve it similar like Commissioner Court Volume A book that was done several years ago. And this is our project here. We are the sole source provider of two products, archival products. That is the archival binder, disaster safe binder. These binders are made to withstand fire and water. It's made of the same material that you put on the front of the shuttle when it enters back into the Earth's atmosphere, as well as Kevlar vests for bulletproof vests. So this ensures the safety of your documents. The other sole source product that we manufacture are these Mylar lay flat sleeves. They are designed to let the gases, the acid in the paper, off gas. So the paper will just continue to get brittle, brown, fall apart like you saw here. So with full preservation, what we do is back in the 1830s, wood-based pulp paper became the fastest way to print books and documents. But unfortunately, during that process of making wood pulp paper, they introduced acid into the paper because that's what they wanted the paper as white as this. The acid actually eats away at the paper, and the ink, the gall ink, actually has acid in it as well. That starts eating away at our history. The tape that you saw in that book, the glue has acid in it. Eventually, all these things that we've done in the past to preserve these records are actually helping them deteriorate faster. So in the proposal, I'll just take you through the proposal. We're going to go, here's some samples of some other books. And I put in a couple of samples of the images of Deed Record Book B as well. And I love this image on page 7. I'm not going to be able to find anything on that page. So again, just wanted to document for you why we are recommending that we're going to re-image all these handwritten records. On page 9 is the bottom line number. And page 9 is a summary of what the pricing contains. And the pages subsequent from page 9 is an individual inventory of every single volume that is addressed here in this proposal, as well as their date, the number of pages, the format that they're in, whether we're going to re-image those volumes or reuse the images. So this proposal, again, includes the deed records, oil and gas, deeds of trust, commissioner court, marriage registers. It's
right under 1,300 volumes of information and history of the county. 1,300 volumes of books and pertaining to all of these record series. So this proposal totals, and it includes a 10% discount. All of our clients who currently have our Vanguard system do receive a 10% discount off of our GSA pricing as a thank you for maintaining our system. And so it includes a 10% discount. The bottom line number is $366,113.48. I am using the GSA schedule on this. We have used that in the past for past projects here with the county. I like the GSA for two reasons. The fees to use it is smaller, and the onus is on CoFile to report the project to the federal government, not on the county. Whereas text match, you've got to go in and report everything in Smart Buy. We have provided a 3-year payment plan on this, no fees or interest on that, and there's no penalties for paying it off sooner. So this is, in summary, the proposal on the bottom of page 9. If you look here, it starts to describe each one of the level of services that you will see on the individual inventory and what that means. So the 2 books, volumes A and B, those are going to get full preservation. So what does that mean? It means that we're going to dismantle the volume. We're going to surface clean all the paper. We're going to remove mend tears with archival mending tape. We're going to remove any materials. We're going to remove all of the glue, all of the tape. We're going to de-acidify the paper and bring the paper back to its appropriate pH level. We're going to encapsulate each page in a mylar sleeve that allows the gases to off-gas, and we're going to rebind it in this disaster-safe binder for those 2 binders. And then formatting existing digital image or archival imaging. Here you've got all the bullet points that details all the tasks and labor that we're going to perform in order to get this project done. And then, of course, as I mentioned, on page 11 of 15 and all the way to 15 is your individual inventory of just under 1,300 volumes that we will be handling for this project. So that concludes my presentation, and have I missed anything that?
I don't believe so. I know one concern that y'all did have previously was, since we were gonna be doing the indexing ourselves, that you were afraid that it was not gonna be available online immediately for purchase. It will be though, however. Kathy did a demonstration for Judge, showing how you can do those searches, so it'll still be there. So that way it gives my team time to gradually start to do all that indexing, but it will still be accessible. I just wanted to make sure y'all knew that.
It's all advertising. It's getting these links out there on her website, and then making sure that on the website, when you give the link about find the volume and page, on the quick link site, this is how you do this. Click here to go find your document in their Land and Vitals record. So yes, there is some scripting that we want to do with the product, as well as some scripting with the clerk's website to educate the public on how to do these searches. And granted, there's nothing better than having land records that are fully indexed. Nothing beats that. But this is really going to get us to the next best thing, to where at least I can, on all the type scripted documents, at least I can do word searches, and I can also search by volume and page.
Thank you, Mr. Lay. Does Commissioner Sport have any questions?
I do.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lay.
Where is this money coming from?
Go ahead, April.
I can tell you that it is already built into the county clerk's records management fund, which is Fund 14. And so in your budget, you will already see this $122,000 for the 3 years. Mrs. Gonzalez's records management fund has over about $320,000 in there, so she will be able to make straight out the first 2 years of payment. I had shared with the, court previously that possibly she could be in arrears, maybe 45,000, that's give or take, depending on how her revenues are and how her expenditures are the next 3 years, that the general fund possibly will have to, compensate. And like I said, it's about a $45,000, amount, that's in year 3.
Year 3,
So, a give or take,
depending on her revenue.
Yes, definitely.
But of course, the more word gets out, the more we have on there, I mean, if we've got it, we can sell it. That's the way I look at it.
Now, the record series, you listed deed records, oil and gas records, deed of trust, commission support records. Is there any one of these that could be left out or possibly done less than, or?
There
could be
really
on
wasn't that
deed, or-
much of a difference, right?
No, if you look, there are line items out for you on the
No,
summary page.
I see them there, but, I mean, do they,
I mean, we possibly could, but I just felt if we were gonna go with this project, we might as well go with it, run with it, get as much done as we possibly can. And then after year 3, once we pay this off, hopefully we won't have to dip into the general fund at all, that's my main goal. Then we start collecting more revenues and go on with our next project.
Yeah.
That's
repeat that again?
Okay, just real quickly, we do have a motion on the floor to approve from Commissioner DeWitt. Do we have a second at this time?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Commissioner Fidias, you still have the floor.
no, that's fine. She answered my question. I wanna know where the money was coming
I
from.
guess, I
Money's always
wanna,
important, I understand that.
yeah, and I wanna ask, the books that we have there, how many, you have, what, 4? Oh, the bottom ones. Those.
No, we've got quite a few in my office. We have Commissioner's Court records and.
The index book.
Yeah, a couple of the
We
index.
paid for that many times ago, and all we got was pretty much a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
Not
else
even,
available.
not even the full record, I mean, we still have just, and we paid numerous amounts of money there.
We did a microfiche deal one time.
Yeah, we did that also, but
I really think we'll get the most bang for our buck, I really do.
I don't doubt that. And
This is the final.
court records are just the records, I understand.
And this is our county history. I think that it's a very big deal for us to preserve those first 2 books, most
We
definitely.
won't have another chance.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Commissioner Salazar, do you have any comments?
No, I heard April that we got enough up to 45,000, but
That's a part.
today.
As of today,
Today,
so
so we are
yeah.
gonna generate some revenue.
Sure.
So
Right.
hopefully, if you want.
We have already generated.
We're hoping for that, but that'll be in
2
year
years
3.
ago, it was in Claybrook County, and they were
Yes.
bragging
That'll be
about
in year
football in Claybrook County.
Oh, well, thank, yes,
And maybe we also need to be clear that the fund that we're talking about that would pay for the vast majority of this is also being utilized to pay our other monthly expenses with Profile, is that correct?
Yes, your maintenance, which is about $43,000 annually, which is already budgeted, and taken in an account of that 45,000. Because of course, I put in the revenues and taken out the expenditures, and that's, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
the clerk has, 2 funds that he or she could use. The first fund is called a records management or preservation fund. And that fund, the clerk's office can pay the monthly Vanguard costs, even, buy scanners for the office. So that fund is kind of loose, and the clerk can use those funds as she deems. The second fund is what they call an archive fund. And that fund also, with every filing, the clerk collects $10. That fund is a little bit more restricted to what you can use that fund for. You can't buy software with it, several other things. The only thing really that the legislator in the Senate bill wrote, that they really want that archive fund for the clerks to use that to preserve the history of the county and digitally imaging documents, historical documents and contemporary documents that have a permanent retention schedule by the Texas State Library can use that archive fund. So she she may be using, I think she's probably gonna be using a blend of both of those funds, but this project qualifies for either one of them.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lay. Any
Yeah,
further
too,
questions?
is there,
Good job.
is there any,
Thank
anything else that comes from that fund besides that?
Mrs. Gonzalez pays a part-timer, and, you know, she's still using that because that's one of the questions I had, is if we want to keep that, you know, it's about probably 20 or so thousand.
And I told her we can
Annually.
definitely revisit that later on, but right now I think, it's important for me to keep that part-timer simply for the fact that we're gonna be indexing all these.
I just wanna see any other costs that are gonna come from that particular fund, that might
Just-
fall back on the court.
Just the part-timer and the maintenance. And also, there's a transfer in to help pay for net data, which is 12,000. And that can also be revisited next year, but that is what's currently in the budget for fiscal year 21.
Okay.
Good.
With this 122,000 first payment. Yep.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so very
Thank you
much.
again, Mr.
Thank
Lay.
you. Thank you so much.
All right, moving on, agenda item number 18, CARES Act funding reimbursement request from B County Independent School District. This is my agenda item. I've placed it on the agenda just to keep the Commissioners Court apprised of the status. I have been in communication with all of our county ISD superintendents. I can tell you right now that the plan is that at our August 24th meeting, we will have every ISD packet request for this is a CARES Act refund request through for connectivity issues from our ISD, so remote learning and education. With respect to Pawnee, Pettis, and Skidmore-Tynan ISD, the total requested outlay is somewhere in the $100,000 range. B County, BISD, they do, the BISD and the city of Beeville and myself all got together, talked on the telephone. The city of Beeville is in support of, supporting BISD. Their available CARES Act funds are a little bit lower than the county's, because it's based on a per capita population, basis. So there may be a partial request from BISD, to support our connectivity component with the CARES Act, gives us a range of somewhere, northward of, $250,000. We're going to be well within that request. And
Do you have
so,
an idea how much BISD?
so BISD's request right now is somewhere along the lines of, between $150,000 and $250,000. I think, because their numbers are a little bit different. The way each ISD is broken down has changed for me, and so BISD's total connectivity and getting ready for school costs are somewhere in the $850,000 range. And so half of that is 425 or so. They've actually dropped it down to about 333 or something like that. Half of that would be about $150,000, which is if the county and the city can provide an ISD with, say, 25% of their total connectivity needs, the Texas Education Agency will match those funds at that amount. So theoretically, for each of our ISD's connectivity, the TEA could ultimately pay 75% of the total cost. And we would shoulder 25%, which we would get reimbursed from TDM for our CARES Act expenditures, so that our ISDs can focus on their reimbursement rates just with regular issues, not with the added weight of trying to supply all of this remote connectivity to their students.
All that reporting goes through Ms. Cantu's office?
So what's going to happen is the ISDs are going to have to, this is a reimbursement program. So the ISDs have, most of them have already made their purchases of the equipment. Once they get their paperwork in order, they're going to have to submit it to us. And there will be some component of us making sure, gatekeeping function, making sure that we get all the information that we need from the ISD before August 24th, so that when we have this item on our next agenda, or an item similar to this on our next agenda, we can have, the commissioners consider all of our ISD requests at the same time. And we'll have a comfort level from Ms. Cantu that we, at least as far as we know and believe, we have all of the information we need to obtain 100% reimbursement through TDM. So that's the goal, and the ISD superintendents, are aware of the process and the proposed plan of action. Yes, sir. And the deadline, and I'll touch base with them again this week, to hopefully keep them moving forward on that. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to help out our ISDs. And, you know, as we know, as some of us may know, you know, just this morning or just yesterday evening, DISD had to stop its strength and conditioning program because of a positive COVID case. And make no mistake, like we keep saying, if 100% of the parents and the students that go to these schools, and the administrators, and the employees, and the teachers, and the staff, if all of them do not follow to a T the procedures and the requirements that the school districts have set out on how to reopen safely, if any one person violates that, this is what happens. You have a kid, one or more children who are COVID positive, whose parents make the decision to allow them to go anyway. And when that is discovered, it shuts down the entire program. So again, you know, I encourage everybody in the county to follow strictly the guidelines and the requirements, not only from this court, but from the CDC, from the Texas Department of State Health Services. The folks that are in charge of determining public health issues for our state and our nation are the individuals that we need to follow. We have rules in place, they're proven to be effective. The ISDs are entering into uncharted territory, and any one of us who decides that their rules and their procedures don't have to be followed 100% of the time is running the risk of sinking the entire ship, which is what has happened. And so hopefully we'll get, hopefully the ISDs will get 100% compliance from their parents, students, and everybody else involved, and they'll be able to get our kids back into school. So I fully support them, and I know it's going to be a big challenge, but to the extent that we can provide some support and solution to them with respect to funding their connectivity needs, I think it's a great opportunity. So
It's my understanding, Judge, that DISD also carries St. Mary's and all these other private schools, St. Philip's and all those. They're under their umbrella.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, according to my brother, I spoke to him.
Okay.
He told me that they assist those schools.
Okay.
With this type of.
Excellent. I'm not aware of that. When I spoke with Mr. Fanning, he didn't mention that, but I'll ask him this week to try to get an idea. Yes, sir.
That they fall under the umbrella of
DISD. Interesting.
One thing I'd like to bring up, and I want to appreciate Michelle Hartman, the Pawnee superintendent, for initially, I think, bringing this to our attention to kind of get us started in this direction.
Sure, yeah, no, she's been wonderful. Any other comments, questions? The idea is that come August 24th, we're going to be ready to start school. Yeah, to move this forward for the ISDs. Okay, there's no action needed on this one. We'll see it again on the 24th. Moving on to agenda item number 19, update, discussion, and possible action regarding B County COVID-19 status preparedness and contingency planning. I don't really have any prepared comments this morning. Mr. Willow is here this morning. Mr. Willow, do you have anything you'd like to share with the court?
Of course.
Thank you, please. Take control of the dais. Let us know how things are going, especially this weekend. Let us know how the testing went with the National Guard.
Mike Lowe, emergency manager. Testing went well. We had 180 plus or minus a couple tests on Saturday. We had 80 tests on Sunday. And when I left this morning, I'll bet you we had 80 tests already this morning being conducted. The military is out there and they are precise, they are fast, they are quick, unbelievable. It took me 3 hours to get all the ducks in a row, and it took them 20 minutes to get them in line and get them out. So they're good. You can tell they've been doing it quite a while. So we're having a lot of people coming in because of, the test results that are coming in. Skidmore has popped up. I believe they have issues with the volleyball players, I believe also, the school. They have, 12 to 15 cases running around there. North Lee County's got about 7 cases. And I know one confirmed death up there too, so it's everywhere. It's everywhere. We're doing what we can. We're trying real hard to tell everybody just follow the plans. The plans will work. And like you so graciously said, Judge, somebody says it don't count, they group up the whole program. So, we talked earlier about Department of State Health Services not wanting to do the vaccination. I got a phone call from Department of State Health Services. They might be watching, I don't know. But they want to try to do the 28th and 29th half day, and we can bring it up on the 24th for approval. But they are going to need, they want to do a drive-by. They need about 10 to 12 volunteers each day to help with the paperwork. They want to do a drive-through.
Are you talking about here or Pettis?
Here, or Pettis, wherever we want. I would like to have it up in North Lee County. But if we have it in a joint location, it'd be all right too. So like at the Coliseum, would be okay as well. But they want to drive through, so we have to work up a couple different scenarios up there.
What is this vaccination for?
This vaccination is for flu, pneumonia, for kids to get their shots ready to go back to
Vaccination
school.
and immunization.
I got you. It's not the COVID, so we need to make sure that.
No, we're good, yeah, we know we don't have that yet. No COVID virus yet. And just something to add a little more gloom. I was told by the National Guard that there's 9 different strains of the COVID-19.
Wow.
So, it's gonna be just like the flu when it comes to the vaccine. And I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Appreciate all your hard work, Mr. Willow.
Yeah, no, that's
Thank
fine.
you, Mr. Willow.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you.
We, you know, Mike, actually, stay standing up here real quick. I know, I'm apologizing, looking on my computer here real quick as well. I wanted to give the Commissioners Court an update on numbers. Our numbers as of yesterday evening, those should be updated today. We'll put out a periodic update this afternoon after 4 p.m. when the DISH's dashboard website will be updated. But our overall numbers for for community cases, non-prison inmate cases, is, I believe, that's the wrong number, is 577. One of the things that is really important to B County's response to COVID, and the response to COVID is largely trying to get the information out to our community on how to protect themselves and those that they care and love about, and to encourage them to continue to do it. And then on the other hand, to provide testing as much as we can, initially it was to relieve the burden from the hospital and our medical clinics, and now we have this wonderful setup that Mr. Willow and his team have put together, our B County COVID-19 Coalition, made up of B County, the City of Beeville, the Beeville Fire Department, the Sheriff's Office, Beeville PD, JJP Family Practice Group. DISH's has helped out in the past. Just a wonderful, wonderful group of volunteers, for the most part, who have actually been able to keep the testing, the drive-through testing facility and our hotline up and running for, I forgot the number of days, 150 days. It is a long time. April 2nd, we opened up our drive-through testing facility. And I wanted to highlight for Commissioner's Court and also for any of our community members that are watching today, what we've dubbed the medical branch of the B County COVID-19 Coalition. The medical branch is the team of volunteers that we have that go out and actually administer our tests. And that team of individuals is Mike Tyran, Tammy Gonzalez, Devin Ray Gonzalez, Cynthia Perez, Michael Rosas, Diego Delgado, and Aaron Puga. And once again, let me repeat those names. Mike Tyran, Tammy Gonzalez, Devin Ray Gonzalez, Cynthia Perez, Michelle Rosas, Diego Delgado, and Aaron Puga. Thank you to those folks. If you know them, give them a call. Don't go up to them, don't hug them, don't give them a high five, but call them and tell them thank you. These guys and girls, and I'm sorry that was misogynistic, these professionals, in addition to their full-time jobs and in addition to raising family and dealing with all the stress that we're all dealing with COVID, are showing up multiple times a week in the afternoon, in the summer heat, at the Expo Center, exposing themselves to potential COVID-positive people to provide this resource that benefits not only us individually, but our local businesses and employers, and it provides our individuals with peace of mind and certainty. It saves our hospital and our doctors and our medical clinics from being exposed directly to somebody that has this virus that we're still trying to get a better idea of. So on behalf of the Commissioners Court, I'd like to thank them for everything that they're doing, and thank you, Mr. Willow, for putting that information together for us. Do we have any other questions, comments, burning desires?
No, I mean, it's setting up this vaccination. You know, you can only phrase that as being that they're coming to drive-by shotting, not a shooting. So, I mean, this is something that's necessary. These kind of immunizations are so we don't face something like we have right now. I want to admit, my wife purchased a movie called The Influenza, the Flu of 1918, and we watched that, and it's amazing. You watch that, and you see that was back then. Masks were hollered back then too, and you didn't see. What I saw in that movie was you didn't see the resistance to these back then that you see now, but there were still those that didn't believe it, but there were the majority of them that believed it. Unfortunately, they were just regular cloth. Didn't really stop anything. It's like, what did they say? It was like blocking a sneeze with a screen door, pretty much. But, you know, and from there we've evolved and to where we don't have all of that anymore. These immunizations are necessary. So we can only hope that we continue. And again, Judge, it's good that you stress these work. They may not, they may say they don't, they work. They've proven they work. And I still fight people every day about it. And so it's unfortunate. But thank you. And thank Mr. Willow for staying on top of everything. It's another guy that's untireless in what he does.
Very true. Thank you, Commissioner. There's no other comments. We can move on to agenda item number 20.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without
We're gonna
exception.
start another meeting.
Yes.
Can we take a
5-minute break, guys. 5-minute break.
Please.